The Empire improves every system it touches, judged by any metric. Safety, prosperity, trade, opportunity, peace.
Long live the Empire!
Long live the Empire!
See, boys, everybody thinks they want freedom. But what they really want is order.
The Galactic Empire did evil things. None can argue with that. But the alternative to the Empire was the chaos, corruption, and neglectance of the Republic. So could the Empire actually be good for the galaxy? We're going to explore this topic through the lens of philosophy, specifically delving into concepts like order, structure, and the idea of peace through might, as explained by political philosopher Thomas Hobbes in his seminal work, Leviathan. First, let's establish the context. The galaxy in the Star Wars universe is vast, chaotic, and troubled by numerous problems, ranging from smuggling and corruption to separatist movements and galactic wars. To manage such a broad spectrum of issues over an enormous expanse of space, you'd need a governing system that prioritizes stability and order. In the works of Thomas Hobbes, particularly in his seminal book Leviathan, the concept of order plays a crucial role in the construction of a stable society. According to Hobbes, human beings are fundamentally self-interested and driven by a desire for self-preservation. In a state of nature, where there is no authority to enforce rules, individuals would be in constant competition and conflict with one another, leading to a war of all against all, bellum omnium contra omnis. In this state of nature, life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, as Hobbes famously described. The fear of this chaotic existence prompts individuals to seek order, which is attained by entering into a social contract with each other. In this contract, individuals agree to give up some of their natural freedoms in exchange for protection and the benefits of living in a society. This is where the concept of the Leviathan comes in. For Hobbes, the Leviathan is a metaphorical creature that represents a centralized authority, often manifested as a government or sovereign. This entity is granted the power to enforce laws, adjudicate disputes, and wield the monopoly on legitimate violence. In return, the Leviathan provides a structure, order, that allows for a peaceful coexistence, economic development, and the possibility for culture and civilization to flourish. Order, in Hobbes's understanding, is not just the absence of conflict, but a carefully constructed social, legal, and political framework that enables the flourishing of human life. It is the means through which resources are allocated, justice is served, and the collective will is determined. It is both a safeguard against our baser instincts and the mechanism through which we can achieve our higher aspirations. So, in the context of Hobbes' political philosophy, order is a highly structured and regulated state of affairs achieved through the mutual agreement of individuals to submit to a central authority, which in turn has the responsibility to govern justly and wisely for the benefit of all. The concept of order is indispensable for Hobbes because it forms the bedrock upon which all other social goods are built. Certainly, Thomas Hobbes's concept of order is remarkably applicable when considering the complex and volatile landscape of the Galactic Republic in Star Wars. While the Republic initially represented an idealistic vision of galactic governance, it eventually crumbled under the weight of its own complexity, just as Hobbes would have predicted in a society lacking a strong central authority to establish and maintain order. One of the most telling aspects of the Star Wars saga is how history seems to repeat itself, even when lessons should have been learned from previous failures. The New Republic, established after the fall of the Galactic Empire, quickly falls into the same traps that plagued the Old Republic: idealism untempered by pragmatism, inefficacy in governance, and rampant corruption. It paved the way for the First Order to come and offer an alternative. In Hobbes' conception, the state of nature is marked by a war of all against all, where self-interested entities are locked in a perpetual struggle for power and resources. Translate this to the galactic scale, and you have a republic that's essentially a grand stage for this battle, only with the actors being entire star systems, megacorporations, powerful lobbyists, and various interest groups representing diverse cultures and races. This parallels Hobbes' grim outlook of what life is like when there is no single powerful authority to enforce peace and societal rules. The Galactic Republic, originally intended to be a unifying force that could bring order to the galaxy, failed in this mission because it turned into an ineffective, corrupt institution, unable to enforce laws or maintain peace. It was a Leviathan that had lost its teeth. Each senator or representative, whether influenced by greed, parochial interests, or the lobbying of powerful corporations, was locked into a Hobbesian struggle, focused more on the well-being of their particular constituency rather than the greater good of the galaxy. The result? A Senate paralyzed by its divisions, inefficiency, and inability to enact meaningful policies, a perfect manifestation of the chaos Hobbes feared. In a galaxy spiraling out of control with rising separatism, increased lawlessness, and an ineffective bureaucracy, the arrival of the Galactic Empire can be seen as the manifestation of Hobbes' solution. A new Leviathan capable of establishing order. Emperor Palpatine's consolidation of power aimed to do precisely what Hobbes recommended: create a central authority strong enough to enforce peace.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first Galactic Empire for a safe and secure society.
One of the Empire's key strategies for maintaining peace was the overwhelming might of its military, encapsulated in the concept of the Death Star as the ultimate deterrent. This correlates with Hobbes's idea that the fear of a powerful sovereign can keep people's baser instincts in check. Whether or not one agrees with the ethics of such a strategy, from a Hobbesian point of view, the Empire's show of force serves the purpose of maintaining order and deterring potential rebellion. Hobbes argued that for the Leviathan to maintain order, individuals must surrender some of their freedoms. This idea finds a clear parallel in the Empire's governance, where personal liberties were often sacrificed for the sake of broader galactic stability. While critics argue this results in an oppressive regime, proponents might suggest that such measures are necessary evils in a galaxy rife with complexity and conflict. In summary, the Galactic Empire can be viewed as an attempt to implement Hobbes' Leviathan on a galactic scale, aiming to bring an end to the chaotic, self-interested struggles that plagued the Republic and replace it with a unified, orderly system, even if it requires authoritarian measures to achieve that order. In Hobbesian terms, the establishment of a centralized authority, here represented by Emperor Palpatine and his Galactic Empire, serves to bring about order and stability, which are prerequisite conditions for economic prosperity. Let's examine how the Empire's policies, spearheaded by Palpatine as the Leviathan, contributed to economic growth, particularly focusing on stability, security, and the integration of outer worlds into the broader galactic society. In any economic system, stability is key to fostering an environment conducive to investment and growth. The Empire's strong central authority provided a level of predictability and stability that was lacking during the waning years of the Republic. Corporations, traders, and investors could operate under the umbrella of a unified set of laws and regulations, making it easier to conduct business on a galactic scale. The core worlds, often the economic powerhouses of the galaxy, benefited immensely from this stability, attracting even more investment and becoming hubs of innovation and commerce. Under the rule of the Empire, security was bolstered significantly, especially for the core worlds. The Empire's formidable military acted as a deterrent against piracy and armed conflict. This peace-through-might approach provided secure trade routes and reduced the costs associated with security for both transportation and production. In essence, the Empire's military acted as a guarantor of economic activity, making it safer and more profitable for businesses to operate across the galaxy. While it's true that Outer Rim worlds were often targets of exploitation under both the Republic and the Empire, the latter took notable steps toward their integration into the broader galactic society. One of the key avenues for this was through the Imperial military. Young men and women from marginalized planets were given the opportunity to serve in various capacities within the Empire's armed forces. This not only provided them with employment, but also skills and training that could later be transferred to civilian roles. This integration had a cascade effect on the economies of these outer worlds. Remittances from military salaries flowed back into these planets, providing a boost to local economies. Additionally, the presence of Imperial bases and facilities on such worlds led to the development of local infrastructure, including improvements in transportation and communications, which are vital for economic growth. The empire's demand for resources also resulted in investments in mining and other extractive industries, providing yet another economic stimulus. The Clone Wars offer a revealing lens through which we can scrutinize the profound weaknesses and limitations of the Galactic Republic. While it's crucial to note that Emperor Palpatine himself orchestrated the conflict to further his own rise to power, the conditions that allowed the Clone Wars to erupt were deeply rooted in the Republic's structural flaws. The very existence of the separatist movement indicates a significant failing of the Galactic Republic to address the needs and concerns of its constituent worlds. Far from being an isolated fringe group, the separatists were comprised of numerous star systems that had willingly chosen to break away. Their grievances often revolved around a lack of representation, economic neglect, and dissatisfaction with a corrupt, ineffective, centralized government. They felt suffocated under the Republic's bureaucracy and were desperate for self-governance. Instead of proactively addressing these widespread grievances, the Republic found itself paralyzed by its own complexity and internal divisions. The Senate was often too embroiled in bureaucratic red tape and the vested interests of various groups to respond effectively to the crisis. This ineffectiveness was not merely a result of corruption, but also a feature of a sprawling, unwieldy, democratic institution that struggled to reconcile the vastly different needs and agendas of thousands of star systems. Given this backdrop, it's conceivable that a large-scale conflict like the Clone Wars, or something akin to it, was an inevitability. While Palpatine's orchestration of the Clone Wars was undoubtedly manipulative, it's telling that he could so easily exploit existing fractures within the Republic to advance his agenda. These were not divisions he had to create from scratch. They were already present, waiting for someone to leverage them. The very plausibility of the Clone Wars scenario bears testament to how fragile and vulnerable the Republic had become. In sum, the Clone Wars serve as a glaring exposé of the Republic's failures, spotlighting its inability to maintain order, offer effective governance, or even hold itself together. While Emperor Palpatine seized this opportunity for his ascension, the conditions that allowed for such a catastrophic war were inherent in the Republic's flawed system. Palpatine's Galactic Empire, therefore, emerged as a response to this chaos, providing a Hobbesian solution to a galaxy that had become all too familiar with the discord and inefficiency of a faltering republic. For many citizens across the galaxy, the Galactic Empire represented a better alternative to a republic that had become synonymous with inefficiency, corruption, and neglect. The Empire, for all its faults, provided what the Republic could not: stability and order. In a Hobbesian sense, people were willing to trade some of their freedoms for a system that offered security and predictability, even if those came at the cost of authoritarian governance. The lasting appeal of the Empire was evident in the legions of loyalists, who continued to fight on even after its official fall. These were not merely remnants of a defeated regime, but a significant segment of the population that genuinely believed in the Empire's vision for the galaxy. They saw the Empire as the only force capable of providing the stability that the Republic had failed to achieve. Many of these loyalists went on to form or join splinter groups, actively seeking to restore the reign of the Empire.
Open arms. To the Empire.
When framed in this way, the distinction between good rebels and a bad empire begins to blur. If we measure goodness by the ability to maintain stability and foster societal cohesion, then it's conceivable to regard the Empire as a force for good and the rebellion, with its aims of dismantling this stability, as a force for chaos. This does not absolve the Empire of its authoritarian excesses, but it does challenge the narrative that the rebellion is inherently virtuous. The philosophical underpinnings suggest that the concepts of good and bad are highly relative and often contingent on one's perspective.
Palpatine is evil! From my point of view, the Jedi are evil! Well, then you are lost!
For those who value order above all else, the Empire, much like Hobbes's Leviathan, is a necessary institution. For those who prioritize individual freedoms, even at the risk of chaos, the rebellion becomes the moral choice.
Raider!
The Star Wars saga, therefore, offers a nuanced playground for exploring these complex ethical and political questions. In conclusion, The Star Wars universe serves as a rich tapestry for examining the perennial tensions between order and freedom, authoritarianism and democracy. Rather than taking sides in a simplistic battle between good and evil, it challenges us to grapple with the complexities of governance, ethics, and human nature itself. It encourages us to question, to debate, and most importantly, to think deeply about what kind of society we wish to live in, and what sacrifices we are willing to make to achieve it.